Welcome to the first production breakdown. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Over the course of this series, I'm going to talk a little bit about the process that went into each chapter and hopefully answer some of your questions. But if you haven't seen the chapter yet and don't want spoilers, this is your warning. I can't stop this timer, but you can. This is easily the episode we modified the least from the original. Only footage from Chapter 1 was used, and even though a few scenes were taken out, all the remaining ones play out in the same order. There are a few noteworthy changes though. They shall be presented rapid fire in a section of the breakdown I have named Lionheart no longer rolls a 2 on his stealth check. Some of the clothing now rustles when it moves around. This cap makes a noise when it lands, and the outside now sounds like the outside. The repulsion gel has been removed from the floor and ceiling. I finally make my debut as a professional voice actor.
This one's on the house.
I don't know, I thought it'd be funny. Oscar now knocks a second time because of how long it takes John to answer the door. Crow stumbling and drunk is unchanged because it's perfect. Like I said, there's not too many structural modifications in this chapter, but there is a significant difference in the runtime, so let's talk about that for a second. Back in the prehistoric era, Random and I created a list of every scene in the volume, printed them onto slips of paper, and laid them out on a table. One by one, they got reintroduced. If the order didn't feel right, we could just shuffle them around, and if we didn't find a scene to be crucial to the story or the characters, we tossed it altogether. This is what's called a paper edit, and it served as a blueprint for the entire Redux project. Let's have a look at Chapter 1. The opening scene is just a recap of Volume 4. This one doesn't contribute much outside of some architecture, and we already saw the bar scene in Volume 4's post-credits. All pretty good candidates for airlock disposal, but that only saves us 3 minutes. So next, we scanned through all the dialogue to see what the crucial information was and whether it was possible to convey it in fewer lines. Take this monologue, for example. Lionheart offers a unique perspective on the fall of Beacon, but this line repeats information the audience already knows, so that can be safely sent to the Shadow Realm. Not everything we wanted to cut was so neatly partitioned into separate lines, though.
The four maidens each have the power to perform feats of magic, and they are the only ones capable of reaching the relics.
The second half of this line is important, but this part is redundant. Nothing personal. Stitch the two remaining halves of the sentence together with a tiny crossfade. Bless the crossfade. And that leaves us with a much more concise,
The four maidens are the only ones capable of reaching the relics.
This, in combination with the previous changes, saves about 8 minutes of runtime. Another technique that we use to keep things moving is called a J-cut. This is when the audio of the next scene begins before the previous scene ends. And we do it twice in this chapter.
I need a drink.
I'm good. Thanks, pal.
The Yang scene in particular also demonstrates another technique called in medias res, the inclusion of which in this video, I've been assured, makes me sound very cool. What that essentially means is to start a scene in the middle of what's going on rather than at the beginning. I am 2 pages into this script and I'm bored. Let's do the next thing. Welcome to Nitpicks. Remember in the announcement when I said, this edit has its own problems and we are well aware of them? Well, this is the part of the breakdown where we post our failures on the town square billboard so that we can all collectively learn from them. If you enjoyed the chapters and don't have issues with them, you might want to skip these, because once you know about these things, they won't ever go away. You got that? Okay. Chapter 1 wasn't exactly bursting at the seams with Nora dialogue to begin with, but she gets even less to do in this version. Sorry, Nora. This J-cut saves a substantial amount of time, but now Crow is standing entirely too close to Lionheart for no reason, and it's kinda scary. One side effect of starting the bar scene in medias res is that the bartender just kinda pops up out of nowhere.
Hello.
Not gonna lie, Chapter 1 was a tough one to tackle, and it went through a lot of iteration as a result. Even though most of the scenes involve characters standing around and talking, much of what they have to say is vital information, so we had to treat it with care. And it was an especially big deal to me that Redux didn't make any changes that would contradict previous or following volumes. You'll start to see more dramatic changes from Chapter 2 onward, though, and I'm looking forward to talking about them. I was planning on putting a Q&A here, but I forgot to do the Q, so if you have any questions about the edit or the creative process, leave a comment on this video and it might get addressed in the next breakdown. Oh yeah, and if anyone needs a voice actor,